So it seems like the little hope we had for a Star Wars multiplayer game in the fairly near future has been snuffed out. So what am I talking about here? Well, as you know, there's a lot of Star Wars games in the work right now. Most of which are single player, some of which we don't know much about but can guess that it is single player. Yes, we do have Star Wars Hunters coming out this year, which is a multiplayer game, but not really the kind of game that would replace Battlefront or honestly even cater to the same audience, as it's a mobile game. Yes, it's gonna be released on the Switch and I will definitely be checking it out at least, but it's very far from a AAA shooter, AAA heroes versus villains game or anything like that that could be played on PC and the consoles. So it doesn't really fill the same void, it basically fills the void of a multiplayer mobile game. I've noticed that people who play multiplayer games on consoles and PC usually aren't the same audience that play it on phones. Of course it overlaps a little bit, but I don't think everyone who is playing Battlefront right now or Call of Duty or similarly is just gonna jump over and play Star Wars Hunters on their mobile phone. That's not really how it works. So, that being said, all the other games we do know, of course, Star Wars Outlaws, single player open world game, very excited for that. Honestly, I am really excited for single player games. I want to make that clear because it might sound like I only want multiplayer games and I'm complaining about all the single player games. That's not the case. I absolutely loved both Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor, and I think single player games are phenomenal. The only problem with them really is that you pick it up, you play through the story, you have a great time for a week or two or maybe a month, and then you're done with it. You leave it, you put it on the side and, well, not forget about it, but it's a one-time thing. It doesn't build a community, it doesn't build a long-term experience, it's not a kind of game you keep getting new content to, it's a completely different experience. So that's why I might sound very negative towards single-player games, because I'm not. If we had one multiplayer game for every 5 single-player games we had, I would be completely happy. That's kind of the point of the multiplayer game. If it's done well, you don't need to get new ones every year or 2 years. You can just have one good game that continues. Whereas single player games, they obviously have to make new ones to sell new stories. So what other Star Wars games do we have that we know are in the works beyond the ones I already mentioned this year? Well, far ahead we have Star Wars Eclipse, which is a single-player story game by Quantic Dream, but we don't really know when that is happening. It could be really far into the future, but that is for sure a single-player game. And then we also have the Amy Hennig game from Skydance New Media, which is 99% certain it is a single-player game, considering she makes single-player games, and the leaks say that it's gonna make use of the cancelled game she did with Visceral Games, which was a single-player game. So as you can hear, that's all single-player games. And then we get to, well, the KOTOR remake, whether that happens or not, is obviously a single-player game. But the last hope we had was kind of Respawn, because other than the third Jedi game, they're also working on an FPS game and a strategy game together with BitReactor. The strategy game with BitReactor we honestly haven't heard anything about, neither from leaks or insiders or officially for that matter, so that could very well be a multiplayer game too, even though that's kind of not really the kind of multiplayer game I think most of us are thinking about, even though I'm excited to see what they're gonna do. But the FPS game, a lot of us hoped, could this be a multiplayer game? Not Battlefront 3, but just a multiplayer game, a shooter, Overwatch-like game, anything like that. And that was kind of snuffed out last year when one of their job listings said that it was actually a single-player story game that was inspired by Dark Forces 1 and Dark Forces 2. So at that point, most of us realized that that's probably also not a multiplayer game. Even though this was a job listing and it was very early in development, it could be something that changes. I mean, those of you who have been around know that job listings can sometimes have very specific wording that either gets taken out later or ends up not having any meaning at all. So even though that is a semi-official statement, I still had a slight hope that maybe at least a part of the game would be multiplayer. But Tom Henderson, very known insider, actually took out to Twitter today asking, well, his followers, what does everyone want to complain about next? And as always, people asked for Battlefront 3. EA still won't make Battlefront 3, Which he then quoted saying no, but Respawn is cooking a Star Wars single-player experience I think a lot of people have wanted for a long time. We'll do an insider gaming report when I finalize some details. So again, this is actually someone with knowledge on the game saying that it is single player. So the multiplayer dream is pretty much dead, buried, gone right now. What this means is that since he does specifically say it's an experience a lot of people have wanted, and the job listing mentioning Dark Forces and Jedi Knight Dark Forces 2, I think it is gonna be a continuation of the Jedi Knight series, whether it's a complete remaster, a new storyline, or just something similar to that. I feel pretty confident that that's it, considering they have mentioned Dark Forces 1 and 2, and he says it's something a lot of people have wanted, making it seem like this isn't just something completely new that no one has even been asking for. But he does of course say it's a single player experience. And the fact that he doesn't even mention, oh, I've heard rumors about maybe some multiplayer game happening, just bury that idea. Like, honestly, I feel frustrated even talking about this, that we have like what, 6, 7, 8 single player games in the pipeline, but not a single proper multiplayer game. I don't know what to say. It's so stupid. I don't know. Instead they're focusing on making this grand Disney World thing in Fortnite, which is I guess gonna have a Star Wars island. Again, I talked about it in my previous video if you're interested. I do have a slight hope for that it could be something cool where we can make our own Star Wars experiences. So maybe that will be something to look forward to, but overall, I'm not sure what they're thinking. They released multiplayer games, they broke sales records, everyone asks for them back, yet they're like, oh, I'm not hearing or seeing anything, we're just gonna keep doing single player games. And to some degree, I don't blame them. Single player games are, especially if you create a new single player experience like Fallen Order or Jedi Survivor, way less risk, because you can create it from scratch, you have no pre-existing expectations other than of course being a good game. But with something like Battlefront, which I've talked about a lot in the past, there is a million expectations, which is also why I personally, even though I want a Battlefront 3, that's not necessarily what I'm pushing for. I'm just pushing for a multiplayer experience, a fresh, new Star Wars multiplayer experience. Shooter like Battlefront, maybe? Heroes versus villains like Overwatch, maybe? Anything like that could work, really. There's a lot of good game genres that would fit as a Star Wars game in multiplayer, but none of them are really being picked up. And that's kind of the problem. But it is what it is. I'm still very excited for the single player experiences. I don't want you to think that I'm like anti-Respawn's single player experience shooter now because of this. I'm sure it's going to be awesome. Respawn consistently delivers great games. Star Wars games and non-Star Wars games. So whatever this is, I'm sure it's going to be awesome. It's just the overall frustration towards Lucasfilm, I guess, at this point, that I'm kind of taking out in these videos or when I'm talking about this subject, because they just seem completely blind for that kind of need. A game that could potentially sell 3 times as much as a single player game and make money over years and years to come too. So the multiplayer dream is dead. If that ever happens in the future, maybe 5+ years from now, who knows? It's not happening soon, that's for sure. But I appreciate you guys watching as always. If you are enjoying the content, make sure to hit that subscribe button below and let me know in the comments which one of all these Star Wars games are you the most excited for, and do you think there is any hope for the future of Star Wars multiplayer games? Because I don't. Anyways, thank you very much for watching, and as always, may the Force be with you.